Good morning to all of you. So we have started this chapter, and already in the two videos I have discussed the following contents: electricity, the various sources of electricity like electric cell we have discussed, battery, solar cell, main supply, electric generator. Then how flow of charges constitute electric current. Then we have seen what are electric circuits, closed circuits and open circuits. Then we have discussed few precautions that are to be taken before an electric circuit is switched on. And at the last we had discussed electric symbols. So in the today video we will discuss about the circuit diagrams, circuit systems like series circuit, parallel circuit, conductors and insulators, magnet and its property, attractive property and directive property. Okay, then we will discuss about magnetic poles that always exist in pairs and test for a magnet. So these are the contents that we are going to discuss in the today's video. So let's start our discussion. So let's see what is a circuit diagram. So a circuit diagram is a graphical representation of an electrical circuit. A schematic diagram shows the components and interconnection of the circuit using standardized symbolic representations, while a pictorial circuit diagram uses simple images of components. So like we have discussed in the previous video, the various types of electric symbols. Let's summarize these symbols. So these were the various types of electric symbol that we have seen. Electric cell, this was a symbol. For the bulb, this symbol we used. When the switch is in on position, that was the symbol. In off position, then battery, symbol of wire, symbol of resistance, symbol of key open and symbol of key closed. So whenever we place these electrical symbols in a graphical representation and in a proper manner, then it becomes a circuit diagram. For example, in this circuit diagram there is a battery which is providing the power to the light bulb. This represents the wire and this represents the switch. So this is how we represent a circuit diagram, indicating the important components by means of their symbols. So what are the types of circuit diagram? The very first type is known as the series circuit. So in a series circuit, the appliances work simultaneously when the switch is closed and stops working when the switch is open. If any of the appliances goes out of order, then the other appliances also stop working because the circuit stands open at the point where the appliances is installed. Now what is the meaning of this? It means that in a series circuit, the appliances in use are dependent upon each other. For example, let I take two bulbs A and B and they are connected in series to a cell through a switch. Now when the switch is closed, the circuit is complete and both the bulbs starts glowing. Now if the circuit is incomplete, the bulb A does not glow and circuit may be incomplete. There may be the breakage of the wire, or there may be the fuse of the bulb, or maybe one of the electric appliances not working. Now if the bulb B is replaced by a fuse bulb and the switch is closed, then the bulb A does not glow because the circuit is incomplete. So we have discussed that in case of the series circuit, all the appliances or all the electrical components dependent upon each other. So in the first picture we have seen if the circuit is incomplete. In the second picture we have seen the bulb B is replaced by the fuse bulb. So in the both cases the bulb A does not glow because the circuit is incomplete. Whereas in case of the parallel circuit, so this is the another type of circuit. In a parallel circuit the appliances works independently. So in our household wiring system all the circuits are connected in parallel, and when an appliance is switched on it works on its own without the interruption of the other appliance. Thus we can say that in a parallel circuit the appliances in use does not depend each other for their working. So again let's understood this with an example. So suppose I have taken the two bulbs A and B and they are connected in parallel through switches S1 and S2. Now see, in the previous diagram we have seen all the appliances are connected with the single wire, but in this case both the bulbs A and B are connected to this power source by the different wires. See, this is the wire for B and this is the wire of A, and both are having the independent switches. So when the switches are closed the bulb starts glowing. Let's understood that with an example. Now if switch S1 is closed and switch S2 is open, in that case the bulb A glows and bulb B does not glow. But whereas in the previous case when we have discussed the series diagram, in that case we have replaced the bulb B by a fuse bulb, and when the switch was closed there was a single switch for both A and B, then A also does not glow. But in this case what happens, since both of the bulbs are having the different or independent switch, so due to this bulb A glows but bulb B does not glow. Now suppose if I open the switch S1 and close the switch S2, then what happens, the bulb B glows and the bulb A does not glow. Reason is the same, because they both are connected to this power source with the independent wire. Now suppose if I replace bulb B by a fused bulb and both the switches are closed. Since the bulb B is fused, so it cannot glow, but still the bulb A glow. So we can say that although this bulb is not working, but its working is not affecting the working of bulb A. So from these above experiments we know that when circuits are connected in series, each electrical appliance is dependent upon each other, but when the circuits are connected in parallel they work on their individual paths. That is why all the electrical appliances in houses, offices, schools, factories, etc. are connected in parallel. So always remember what at your household all the electrical appliances are connected in parallel. And for the series, you may take the example of those series bulbs that you are using for the decoration during the Diwali or during any decoration to decorate your home. So if in that series, if any of the bulb is not working, that small bulbs are there, then whole series is not working. Next is very familiar one, conductors and insulators. So we already knew that materials that allow electricity to pass through them are called as conductors. So the conductors conduct electric currents. Also we know that metals are the very good conductors of electricity, and our human body is also very good conductor of electricity. Now electric wires are made of metals that act as conducting materials, and therefore they are used to make electrical circuits. For example, you must have seen the copper wire, silver wire, aluminium wire. Just because they are the very good conductors of electricity, so they are used to make the electrical wires. Okay, like this. So all the metals that you can see are the good conductor of electricity because they allow the electric current to pass through them. Next in the discussion is insulator. So conductors allow the passage of electricity. Insulators do not allow electricity to pass through them. Why? Because insulators oppose electric current and therefore they are used as protection from the dangerous effect of electricity. For example, plastic, rubber, pure water, mica. Okay, so although water is a good conductor of electricity, however, in its purest form called distilled water, it acts as an insulator and is used in battery. So the pure water is not a good conductor of electricity, whereas the impure water, that contains the impurities of salt, they are the good conductor of electricity. So now you must have understood why the plugs and switches are covered with an insulating material, because they do not allow electricity to pass through them and we can easily operate any appliance through that switches. So these are the few insulators that you must have been familiar with. Plastic is there, rubber is there, glass is there. So these are the following insulators. Next is magnet and its property. Now a question comes, what is magnet? So you must have seen the magnet. So what is magnet? A magnet is defined as an object which is capable of producing magnetic field and attracting unlike poles and repelling like poles. So first of all, what is magnetic field? Magnetic field is actually the region around the magnet in which the magnetic effect can be felt. And poles means every magnet has two poles, one is the north and one is the south. So like poles repel each other and unlike poles attract each other. Now there are two types of magnet. First is a natural magnet. A natural magnet is an ore of iron that attracts small pieces of iron, cobalt and nickel towards it. It is usually an oxide of iron named Fe3O4. Magnetite or lodestone is a natural magnet. So it is a natural magnet. You can here see it is like a stone. So it can attract the magnetic materials towards it very easily. Second type of magnet is artificial magnet. A magnet that is prepared artificially from the artificial magnets. For example, electromagnet, a magnetic needle, horseshoe and bar magnets, etc. So according to molecular theory, every molecule of a magnetic substance, irrespective of whether or not it is magnetized. So this is a magnet, artificial magnet, a horseshoe magnet, a bar magnet, ring magnet, ball-ended magnet and cylindrical magnet. And each and every molecule of a magnetic substance is a magnet. Whether even if you cut a magnet into a very small piece, then that smallest piece will also be work like a magnet. So next we will study about the properties of magnet. So the very first property is attractive property. As we have already discussed, in case of the magnet attracts the certain substances like cobalt, iron. So these are known as the magnetic substances. So this property is known as attractive property. For example, you can see in these two photos, the magnet is attracting the pins here and their nails it is attracting. So these all are the magnetic material. This property is not the same along the length of the bar magnet, but shows a maximum attraction near the ends of a magnet. So that attractive property is not same all throughout the length of the magnet, and it is maximum near the ends. And these ends of the magnets which have maximum attractive property are called as poles of the magnet. For example, Spread some iron fillings uniformly on a table and place a bar magnet over it. So when you do this experiment, you will came to know that the ends of this bar magnet have more number of iron fillings than any other surface on this bar magnet. Why? Because at the ends the magnetic field is maximum. Similarly, when you dip a U-shaped magnet in the iron fillings, then again you will observe that maximum iron fillings cling at the two ends of the magnet. So from here we can easily say that at the end of the magnet or at the poles, the magnetic field intensity is maximum. Next is the directive property. So when a bar magnet is freely suspended, it points in the north-south direction. Okay, those geographic north and south direction that we are using to indicate the directions. So the tip which points to the geographic north is called the north pole, and the tip which points to the geographic south is called the south pole. This is known as the directive property of the magnet. So suppose if you freely suspend a magnet, then it will automatically rest in the north-south direction. So the part of the magnet which points in the north direction is known as the north pole, and the part of the magnet which points in the south direction is known as the south pole. Even if the magnet is turned to some other direction, it will always shows the north-south direction of the earth. So even if you disturb the magnet from its directed direction, again it will point towards the north-south direction. The end of the bar magnet which points to the north pole of the earth is called north pole, and which points towards the south pole is called as the south pole of the magnet. And how we are representing north and south poles? We are representing the north and south poles, north pole by capital letter N and south pole by capital letter S. So what is the law of magnetism? Like poles repel and unlike poles attract. So whenever north south or south north are there, they will attract each other. If north north is there, there will be the repulsion. Even if south south will be there, then again there will be the repulsion. So only like poles, only unlike poles attract each other, and like poles repel each other. Then poles always exist in pair. If you broke a bar magnet into number of pieces, then individual piece will act as a bar magnet and they will attain their north and south poles automatically, and this you can verify using the attractive and directive properties of a magnet. Suppose we have a huge bar magnet, and if I broke this bar magnet into two pieces, then again this piece is again converted into a magnet, and again it will attain these north and south poles. Similarly, south and north poles can be automatically attained. Now if you again make more smaller pieces, again these smaller pieces have the automatically north and south poles. So from this we can say that poles never exist independently, they always exist in the pair. So we know that a magnet attracts the magnetic substance, or magnet attracts at the unlike poles. So what will be the test for magnetism? Suppose we want to test a certain object to be a magnet, then repulsion is a sure test for the magnetism. Why? A magnet will get attracted to a magnetic substance like iron, or a magnet will get attracted to another magnet with unlike poles facing each other like this. But when a magnet is brought near, when the two like poles are brought near each other, then there will be the repulsion like this. Suppose north and north together, then they will repel, and even south and south are together, they will repel. So from the arguments A and B, we cannot be sure whether the substance in our hand is magnet, but with the argument C, we can be rest assured that the substance under testing is a magnet. So we can say that repulsion is a sure test of the for the magnetism. Okay, so this is the end of our today's discussion. In the next video we will discuss the other topics also. Go through this video and understood each and every concept very well. Thank you.